can't hear the voice because otherwise echo will come, sir.
Okay.
Because this event, no, sir, like 15 seconds delay will be there, whatever the students
Okay.
will see, na, sir. Let me just
I can see the students.
Students only chat we can see, sir.
Oh, only.
Yes, sir. They simply can pose the question, sir.
Okay.
But they can see
See
you.
me.
Yes, sir. I have to read all the notes given by sir or any book for example. But let it stream, sir. First we'll check for that audio and then students, are you able to hear us? Kindly confirm in the chat. Then we will begin the session. Thank you. So somebody will respond to our audio, sir, then we can proceed, sir.
This has come.
Yeah, somebody has said good evening,
So,
but let's wait for them to confirm us. Otherwise, I will just go to our studio and check for that audio, sir. Yes, audio is fine, sir. So you can start, sir. You can begin, sir.
Okay, good evening, friends. I am Sharma, and I teach in IIT-Kanpur, and you have seen my videos on different aspects of population. I am very happy to be here in the interactive session, and I am supposed to answer your questions. Regarding questions which I have received, somebody just wrote Tamil Nadu. I don't know what he meant by that, whether he wrote Tamil Nadu as his place of working or what, or he was asking about demographic situation in Tamil Nadu. Friends, Tamil Nadu is one of the states of India where demographic transition is more or less completed, means birth and death rates have declined to low levels. And not only Tamil Nadu, I can say that on that side of the Vindhyachal, almost all the South Indian states have completed their demographic transition, and their fertility and mortality rates have come down. Sometime in a lighter vein in my class, I say that the country can be divided into two parts, on this side of Vindhyachal and that side of Vindhyachal, particularly Kerala. Almost all the 5 South Indian states, and particularly Kerala, they represent the European situation of India. They are the Europe of India. And this side of Vindhyachal, UP, Bihar and other neighboring states, they constitute the Africa of India, where demographic transition is still occurring, and it will take some more time for demographic transition to be completed, which means their total fertility rate is still quite high, and their mortality rates have not come down to minimum possible levels at the present level of technology. There is one more question that is regarding the nature of question paper. And the nature of question paper in the exam is same as that of assignments. There will be 50 objective type questions, and the questions would look like this, that suppose I say that out of the following countries, in which country life expectancy for females is the highest, and I write India, Pakistan, Singapore, Japan, etc. Then you have to tick mark Japan, because Japan is one country where life expectancy for females is one of the highest. It's above 85 years, I can say. And for males also life expectancy is quite high, and as you know, and as the lectures have shown, that there is a gap in life expectancy of males and females. In the developed countries, the gap ranges from nearly 5 years to almost 8 or 9 years, and that applies to Japan also. So in countries like Japan, Germany, Monaco, we find that life expectancy for females is quite high, and there is a gap between males and females. If you have any other question, please ask. Uh, One student is asking, is there any negative marking? There is no negative marking. So there is a list of 50 questions. One of them is the correct answer. You mark it. If your mark is correct, you get 1 mark. If it is not correct, then you get 0. There is no negative marking.
It's 3 hours, sir. Time duration of exam, somebody is asking. Time duration, what is the time duration of the exam? Somebody is asking, sir. So it is of 3 hours, sir. 3 hours.
The total time duration of the end semester exam, or what do you call the
Online exams, online exam.
online exam, the time duration of the online exam, we are used to semester system, so I was saying end semester, and the time duration of online exam is 3 hours. So there are 50 questions and 3 hours time. Yes, 3 hours.
So would you like to discuss anything related to our subject? Since questions are not posted, in general, would you like to discuss something?
Friends, in general, during last 70-80 years of demographic studies in India, many things have changed. First of all, we have more reliable data on all aspects of population. You can say that the demographic studies in India or in less developed countries started mostly in 1960s, because 1950s was the time when birth rate started increasing due to fall in mortality, and sometime in some countries in 60s, in some countries in 70s, the growth rate of population reached the peak, and therefore several issues came up in theorizing population trends, in estimation of birth rate, death rate, growth rate, and other indicators of population processes like migration. The major issue was fertility, population growth. And at that time we did not have reliable sources of data. The main source of data on population was census, and census includes questions on age, sex, marital status. But at that time it did not have any direct question on fertility or mortality. Subsequently, it has had questions on fertility and mortality also. But as you have seen during the lectures, that now we have more reliable sources of data on fertility and mortality, like sample registration system and large scale surveys like National Family Health Survey and Human Development Survey, and other surveys which are conducted from time to time by National Sample Survey Organization. So there are a lot of data. Actually today we have lot of data but less explanation. There is a need for explaining the demographic trends as discerned by data from National Sample Survey, NFHS, SRS, etc. etc. Census also has now questions on fertility, and a question which tells you something about survival of children. So data is not a problem. Regarding issues, uh, we are uh, reaching a situation in which more and more states today have low fertility or fertility below the replacement level. Overall, the level of fertility in India as shown by total fertility rate, according to NFHS, SRS, and other sources, is almost 2.2. And we say that 2.1 is the replacement level fertility. So, country as a whole has reached almost the replacement level fertility, and more number of states are reaching below replacement fertility. That means our issues of 1950s, which were rapid population growth and high fertility, high mortality, or declining mortality, have been or are going to be replaced by the consequences, socio-economic, demographic consequences of low fertility. Mortality has already declined to quite low levels, and as the latest figures show that our birth rate is 20 and our death rate is 6. So the natural rate of growth of population, which is also the real growth rate of population, is 1.4% per year. In the future, one interesting issue about India's population situation is that although our fertility rate has declined to almost replacement level, the population of the country is still rising quite fast, and that is at the rate of 1.4% per year. We want to reduce it to nearly zero, and that is largely because of what we call demographic momentum, or the impact of younger age distribution of the past. Imagine that nothing happens in family planning program and couple protection rate is not increased further and total fertility rate does not decline further. Even then, in the future, birth rate will continue to decline, and eventually sometime maybe in 50 years time or so, uh, other factors remaining same, also due to impact of age distribution, we will be reaching a stationary population. So that has to be kept in mind, that there is an ironical situation. Total fertility is nearly at the replacement level, but growth rate is high, and that is due to age distribution of population. One student is asking about any book for reference. Yes, there are several books on population studies in India, but I would say that there is not a single book which will give you latest data on population trends and latest explanations of population trends. There are some books which are good in theory. There are other books which produce latest data. I would recommend that you go to the original sources. Like if you want to know what is the current demographic situation in India or other countries, you can go to the population reference bureaus data for 2018, and you get data on birth rate, death rate, infant mortality rate, migration rate, age composition of population, life expectancy for males and females, and everything. Similarly, you can go to SRS data. There are SRS bulletins, there are special publications from SRS on maternal mortality and other things. You can just write what you are looking for in Google search, and that will take you to appropriate sites. From SRS you can know the latest trends. You can see total fertility rate, age specific fertility rates, age specific death rates. You can see differentials in total fertility rate by education, by many socio-economic and demographic things. Actually, in Google search, you can also come across theories of population, and theories of population such as Malthusian theory of population, Martian theory of population, You can also know about Boserev's theory of population and demographic transition theory, all things in detail. But if you are looking for a book, uh, there is a book by Ehsanul Haq of Jawaharlal Nehru University, which deals with the latest situation and sociological explanation of data. Uh, I have also written a book on population and society. Somebody can use that book. The book is published by Concept. Uh, there are sometime back for my classrooms, I used to follow a book, An Introduction to Population Studies by Professor B.D. Misra. Uh, and at one time that book was quite popular. Then there are um, other books, uh, but the problem is that no book will give you the latest data and latest theories. So you have to, for data, you better go to the sites. Population is one subject on which almost all types of data that you require, data from population surveys, data from Registrar General, Census, data from SRS, NSS, Human Development Survey, or other sources, all the data are available on that. So you go to original sources. If you are a researcher, you go to original sources, and if you are interested only in theoretical part or basic concepts, you can read Ehsanul Haq's book, or you can read my own book on population and society. One student is writing, I read in somewhere that today our population growth expanding, but in future it will be collapse. Can you explain a little bit? Yes, this is what I told you, that our population growth is quite high. It is 1.4% per year. That way our population is expanding, and demographers express this often in terms of doubling time. 1.4 means we are growing at a rate that in about 50 years time our population can double, and you can imagine the implications of doubling of population in 50 years. And I agree with you that in the future population will be collapsing, in the sense you are using the term collapsing perhaps to show that our population growth rate will decline. It will not collapse. I don't think that our population in the near future or even in 50 years time is going to have a negative rate of growth. But yes, the rate of growth will eventually decline from 1.4% to 0, and that will be largely in one 5-year plans. This was mentioned that if population growth is high, there is 40% contribution of age distribution, there is 60% contribution of age distribution, 20% contribution of high infant mortality, and 20% of unmet need. So that means even if nothing happens to unmet needs, and unmet needs have also declined a lot. When this statement was made, unmet need. So in the future our growth rate of population will depend heavily on age distribution of population, and the age distribution of population, if the present rates of births and deaths continue, is going to become older and older, and this age distribution becoming older means our overall growth rate of population will decline, but it will not become zero or negative, not till 2050. It will not become negative. So there is no fear of collapse of population. But yes, we can be quite confident that even if family planning does not become more successful than it is today, our growth rate of population will decline. Gradually, it will move towards zero. One student is writing that is it enough if we prepare the notes written from your lectures for the exam? Yes, if you have followed the lectures carefully, you will be able to get 100% marks. One student is writing, I did not receive any lecture videos from NPTEL, sir.
It's available in the portal itself, sir. Directly
It's
from-
available on the portal itself and you can see it.
Yeah, they have to log in with their enrolled email ID and password, and then they
With
can
your
use.
ID and password, you log in and you will get all the lecture videos. Another student is asking, uh, yeah, oh no, this was not question, this is answer by Bhairavi Bharadwaj, that there is a site, you go to NPTEL site and you will get Swayam NPTEL, all videos are available on that site. You just log in with your login ID and password. You must have received some assignments also.
Yeah, assignment is also available online, sir.
Assignments are also available online, so you can see them there. There is another question now. You say 1.4% goes to zero. It means our population arbitrary constant. Then how can we fix that arbitrary constant we want? What you are asking is that if our population growth rate continues to decline from 1.4% towards zero, and eventually it becomes stationary. Zero means population will become stationary. That can we change the size of that stationary population? You know, population planners or Registrar General or Government of India cannot change the population size, but they can make interventions in fertility, mortality, and make migration legal or illegal. And mortality is something which everybody would like to be at the lowest possible level, given the level of nutrition, socio-economic development, and level of medical science and technology. And sometimes mortality also depends on infrastructure, awareness. We want mortality to be at the lowest level. We want our life expectancy to be as high as in Japan or Germany. Governments will intervene only at the level of fertility. Migration also in so-called age of globalization is difficult to control, but yes, fertility interventions can be made. So tomorrow, if we reach a situation in which everywhere total fertility rate is below the replacement level and population is going to decline, if that kind of situation arises, then government can encourage reproduction. You know that in China, at one time, like in India, growth rate of population was high and the level of fertility was also high. During Cultural Revolution of Mao, the view was that the very talk of population growth or discussion on demographic trends are bourgeois. They are capitalistic in nature and therefore no effort should be made to control population. But gradually they realize. When they realize that population needs to be controlled, they went for a policy initially for 2 children and then one child policy. When they went for one child policy, their fertility rate started declining, and being a communist country, it was easier for them to implement one child policy norm, and their growth rate of population declined and aging started. Actually, the biggest negative consequence of decline in fertility is aging. So Chinese population started aging, and when they realized that population is aging, there is a rule of 4-2-1 that today's one child will have to support 2 parents and 4 grandparents in China. When the situation reached this level, then the Chinese government started opening their child policy, and they said we will have 1.5. Now 1.5 does not mean that a couple has 1.5 children, it means on the average. So some couples may have one child, and other couples, depending on their needs, may go for two children. Now this becoming more open about fertility norms from one child to 1.5 children is basically to uh, stall the process of population aging. If their fertility rate goes up, then population becomes slightly younger. So that is the idea. Similarly, if one such fear ever arises that India's population has started declining or is on the verge of decline because of reduction in total fertility rate below the replacement level, then the government can encourage reproduction. I hear that government of India is thinking of bringing a policy to restrict number of children to two. And if number of children is restricted to two, if two becomes the upper limit, means fertility is truncated at 2, then the average would be 1 point something. But tomorrow government can also say that we permit up to 3 children in certain cases. Then that growth rate will go up, fertility will go up, growth rate will go up, and the level of stationary population can also go up. One student is asking, are these video lectures useful in the preparation of UGC NET population studies exam? Yes, why not? These lectures are certainly useful in the preparation of UGC NET population studies exam, because this UGC NET exam, in preparing these lectures, there are 10 lectures of 1 hour duration, and I have kept in mind the course content of BSc, BA, MScs, MAs of different universities on which this UGC NET exam is based. So you will certainly benefit if you appear for UGC NET exam in population studies. You will be benefited by going through my video lectures. Any other question? I would say that 2-3 sites you should definitely visit. One is the site of Registrar General India for population census data. Another is site of International Institute of Population Sciences. This IIPS, International Institute of Population Sciences, is located in Deonar in Mumbai, and is responsible not only for teaching and research in the field of population studies, but also for conducting large scale surveys like NFHS. As some of the video lectures must have shown, that NFHS 4, and now we are in the process of conducting 5, NFHS 4 was one of, or I would say, the largest social science survey ever undertaken in the country, and the sample size was more than 6 lakh women. It is possible to estimate levels of fertility and mortality at the state level, and you will also see there data from other sources, NFHS 1, NFHS 2, NFHS 3, 4, and longitudinal study of aging. This is a new study, something about that you will get. Those students who are interested in learning how to design a good question must necessarily go through the questionnaire of NFHS 4. You will know about design, you will know about question. Similarly, you look at census website and see the individual slips, how to ask questions, and uh, National Sample Survey, uh, Population Reference Bureau, Population Council, and population and there are journals like Population and Development Review, and uh, uh, on family planning there are so many sites. There is WHO site on health and indicators of mortality, which also includes technical discussion of life table, different columns of life table, which gives you information about daily DALY and disease burdens. So it will be good if you visit sometime WHO site.
So let's wait for 2 minutes, sir. In case there are any questions, let them post. Otherwise, we will answer. Yeah. So
Okay, there is one more question. Why government makes such policy? Because today most political or non-political industries are dependent on population. Yes, it's it's a good question. That yes, industries depend on population, but you also find that in our country there is a surplus of population, which is reflected in low wage rates, in unemployment, in poverty. So it is possible for us to reap the benefits of human resources even at declining levels of birth rate. And high rate of growth of population creates other problems, problems of urbanization, poverty, unemployment, and overcrowding everywhere, environmental problems, and therefore government is interested in controlling population growth via control of fertility rates by encouraging family planning. So government is interested in this for that reason. You know, India was the first country to launch an official family planning program in 1950s, and at that time, since India was the first country, there was no experience of what can work or what cannot work in population policy. Uh, and not only that, I remember that when the International Planned Parenthood movement started, and Margaret Sanger was looking for someone to get blessings for her support for population control, she came to India, and there was a summit meeting between Margaret Sanger and Mahatma Gandhi. Of all the persons, Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi gave his support to population control program, though he said, my reason for population control is not the fear of poverty or fear of socio-economic consequences of rapid population growth, but my reasons are political. He was a great admirer of brahmacharya or celibacy, and he said that in some ages it's good to control population, in some other ages it is good to encourage population growth. For him, in his time, means in 1930s, 40s, the time was suited for population control for political reasons, and his method was brahmacharya. So governments are interested in population control because of macro level concerns, and we have such a large population that if our birth rate declines further, there will be no shortage of population to work in industry. Actually, government of India at one time was thinking that we have surplus population and industrially advanced countries or market economies of the world are all short of population. So if we can provide skills to our youth, they can migrate to those countries, they can go to Japan, they can go to America, they can also go to China and fill up the gap of shortage of population there in those countries, and all the countries that way, market economy, developed market economies and India will be in win-win situation. One student is asking that for NET exam, if there is a need, whether they can contact me or not. Yes, you can contact me. You can write down my email address. It is ARUNK. My name is Arun Kumar Sharma, and from Arun K, it is ARUNK @ IIT-K.ac.in.
Sir, in the chat box, can we write, sir, so that it will be there in the chat box, no, sir? Here, sir. No, sir, we can type, sir. Here, so that it will be easy for everyone, sir. Sometimes they may. Just use the keyboard and type, sir.
I am writing my email address ARUNK @iitk.ac.in. You can always contact me. I will be happy to respond to your questions. He is asking one has to score minimum of 10.
No, I posted this question, sir, for a reply to Divya.
Okay.
So she asked if we didn't submit any assignments, will it affect or not?
Okay.
So
Okay. Manish Sharma. You can pass the exam, but
Manish
you,
is our
Okay.
TA, sir. Sorry, our staff. He is just answering, sir. I think we can end, sir. So you can wish them for the exams.
Okay, thank you. Wish you well for your exam. I wish that all of you pass the exam with good scores and you get the certificate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
ठीक रहा?
Yes, sir.